Kyle MacLachlan and Joshua Davis are joining us. They have a podcast that is fascinating. We'll talk to them in a second about this. Before we go any further, Kyle, I have to warn you. Carson and I are, well, we're big fans, and
you might call us peakers.
So,
you might call us peakers.
We're going to try and talk, as adults and coherently here, but we could easily go into wildness fandom. So just a heads up. So there you go.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
All right. And Joshua, what's up? Well, we don't know.
I'm a big fan of you, Josh.
We don't know you, Joshua.
Oh, I got one fan.
I know Joshua because I've been listening to the podcast.
Okay.
There you go.
Yes. Yes.
There you go.
All right. So, all right, boys, tell us about, by the way, Kyle's Twin Peaks, Sex and the City, How I Met Your Mother, Dune, Blue Velvet. He's a thing. Joshua is a investigative journalist, and they have a podcast that Carson has seen or listened to, and it's fascinating. This is weird. Set us up with this.
Well, I guess the beginning was Kyle calls me up one day and he says, I have a friend who's an organic soap tycoon. And that just seems like the beginning of some kind of Twin Peaks story.
Yeah, right.
I mean, how many people know organic soap tycoons?
I mean, there are very few. We're speaking about a woman named Lynn Betts, and through a friend of a friend, I'd heard her story about something she discovered in this little community of Varnumtown, which is on coastal North Carolina, a very small 300 people town, where she had retired. She had moved there to retire and got to know some of the locals and this story. And so it started there. I heard about it. I thought this was very intriguing. I reached out to my friend Josh Davis, an investigative reporter. He does this for a living. He investigates stories. And I said, what do you think? And he said, you're out of your mind. And I said, I know.
I said, it's not true. It can't be true.
I agree I'm out of my mind. But I think there might be something here. So as we dug into it a little bit, realized there was definitely something going on there during the 80s. And so we actually went down, spent about 6 days in Varnumtown and interviewed a number of the people that were involved on both sides of the story.
What is the story? What were they doing? What's the...
Well, they were bringing in contraband from South America, particularly from Pablo Escobar, funneling it through this little community out into the rest of the country. At one time, that little port was the largest importer of contraband on the eastern coast.
So there were like hundreds of people who know this is going on. They live in this little small North Carolina town, and no one talks about it? No one squealed?
They all know. Everybody knew about it, and for the most part, everybody was in on it except for one guy.
Yeah. He squealed?
There's always one guy.
or did he disappear?
Or is he gone?
No, I mean, that's what's interesting about it is everybody has known each other forever. And so things...
Truly
generations. And so you see a lot of storytelling and there's Griselda and Narcos and all these shows on TV where people are getting murdered left and right. It's obviously a very dangerous occupation, narco trafficking.
Yeah.
But things
is
played out very differently. Yeah. When you're like going to your job application, they warn you don't become a narco trafficker.
Okay, gotcha. All right, Kyle and Joshua were with us. It is the Varnumtown is the name of the podcast. Let's get a little deeper into this. We'll take a break. Come right back. We'll talk to the boys more on the way next. Hang on. Kyle MacLachlan and Joshua Davis are joining us. They've got this podcast called Varnumtown. Am I saying it right?
Varnumtown.
Varnum is the...
Varnumtown.
All right. And so back in the 80s, there were like 300 people who were involved with this drug trafficking in this little small town in North Carolina. Pablo Escobar is involved in all this. They've got like, what do they have? Like a little airstrip that they have them coming in, or submarines, or what?
They had the REO Speedwagon plane. They actually bought the plane from REO Speedwagon, and it was flying routes from Barranquilla, Colombia to Varnumtown.
And still had their logo on it.
Did it
Yeah,
really?
REO Speedwagon forgot to take the logo off.
Time for me to fly.
Time for me to fly. That's great.
Also, the crazy part about this podcast is I am listening to it and I just picture they're talking to all these people. And I'm like, the two of you are walking around just knocking on doors like, hey, y'all want to talk to us about drugs? Like, you didn't think this might be dangerous?
Like, isn't that the Sex and the City guy? Isn't that guy a cop?
All righty.
At one point, somebody opens the door essentially and looks at Kyle, and we start talking, and then the person says, does anybody ever tell you that you look a lot like Kyle MacLachlan?
All the time.
But it opens doors, and so at the end,
Literally.
do you get to the point in this podcast where does it get wrapped up in a bow?
Oh, you'll have to listen.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you might say that.
It does. I actually, to me, going into it, because we've all heard the traditional narco trafficking story, like everybody dies in the end, basically, right?
Uh-huh.
This plays out in a different way, in a surprising way.
Okay.
The people we spoke to are the principals of what happened there, and they're all still alive. And the crazy part is they're all, for the most part, all still friends.
Huh.
Wow.
Are they rich?
One of them built a massive compound, and inside the compound built a replica of the town inside the walls of his home.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so he's rich and crazy. All right.
Yeah.
The best, too, is the characters that you meet. That, like, these people that they're interviewing, I love really early in the podcast. They're like, it's, it got a peeker like me because it was, these are characters. And if you're a fan of, like, that kind of show and character TV or character movies, like this podcast, it's straight up about, like, the story's fascinating and that hooks you. But then these people start talking and telling their stories, and you're like, okay, I kind of want to visit now, but I'm a little afraid.
It's called.
Yeah. This was. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to promote your stuff. Varnumtown is the name of it. And how many episodes are there?
We've got eight episodes.
Okay.
We're about to drop the fourth episode Wednesday.
Okay.
And to your point about the characters, I had exactly the same response as Josh and I sat for lengths of time speaking with a number of different people involved, and hearing the voices and hearing their stories and what they went through is fascinating. And I thought this is going to be something that's going to be worth listening to.
So when this is all done, and Carson has listened to all 8 episodes.
Well, no, only the first
I'm
three.
saying
are out.
when
I'm
you
saying
have.
When
it's
I have,
done.
yeah.
Yeah. When it's all done and Carson has listened, do you suggest that she's okay to go to Varnumtown to meet these characters, or just stay away?
I think you should, Carson. I think you should. Varnumtown is very beautiful.
Will you
They
come
have
with
an
me?
idea.
I need
I'll come
special
with you.
agent
Yeah.
with me
Carson,
Yeah.
easy.
with a rubber gun. With a rubber gun.
Yeah. I'm not going to be much help.
That's right. Varnumtown, check it out on wherever you get your podcasts. Kyle MacLachlan and Joshua Davis. Guys, thanks so much. Great work. This is super weird and fascinating and creative, and I love it. Varnumtown.
Fantastic.
Check it out. All right, boys. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us
All
on.
right. Later. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Okay. Bye-bye.
Well, because over the years, teenage kids have told you to like and subscribe, we don't have to say that anymore.
You know what to do.